Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David, and today we find ourselves in Montgomery, Alabama, where we are about to have an amusing time at the MOOseum. Come tag along as we find out all about how cows become delicious beef.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
Before heading inside, you gotta check out the other side of the beef wagon, where you get to see all the different cuts of meat that can come out of one single cow. The MOOseum is located in the Alabama Cattlemen's Association headquarters building, so they have this wonderful museum here at the bottom floor while they still conduct very beefy business above. While this is about beef in general and the cattle trade, there's a little bit of emphasis on Alabama in particular, where the cattle industry has been operating all the way back to 1494. The very first cattle in the North American region were actually brought over by famed explorer Christopher Columbus. Like many animals, there are several different breeds of cattle. Overall, they happen to be pretty similar, but some are bred to be in particular regions, such as somewhere where it's going to be very hot and humid versus somewhere a little cooler, and some are made particularly for different types of meat that you can get out of them. Overall, they all contribute as an important piece of the cattle industry, which has become a massive backbone industry in North America. And as far as learning about that industry, you couldn't hope for anywhere better than the MOOseum. They have artifacts reaching all the way back to the beginning, as we spoke of in the 1400s, and have a comprehensive timeline that shows just how important cattle has always been in this area. You may not think it, but the cattle industry has actually been very influential on innovation and pushing forward culture. Being a prime source of food for early pioneers who explored North America is just one of the many ways that cattle has been a keystone of history. Cattle also gave people the chance to really strike out and be independent. They were able to form their own farms and raise these cattle and sell them for a great profit. During the Civil War, unfortunately, a lot of cattle was lost to the opposing armies. They needed to be fed, they needed food, and the local farmers had to give up their cattle to help feed those armies. Luckily, cattle was able to rebound after the war and become once again a great resource for all. Just like any other crop or farming procedure, the times have changed a little bit, and with that have come innovations to make it faster and more reliable. But at its heart, the cattle industry really still looks a lot like it did in the very beginning. As a matter of fact, through properly caring for their cattle, farmers and scientists have learned a lot about soil and other crops to help make the planet a better place for everyone. Centuries have gone by, and the shape of the world has certainly changed. Technology is different, the way people eat is different, but one thing that hasn't changed is how much we truly rely on the cattle industry. And now we have places like here, the Alabama Cattlemen's Association, to help keep that quality as high as possible. Great job, guys. It wasn't long before cattlemen decided to band together and create a huge push in the advertising world. Instead of all working separately to sell their products, the cattlemen decided that pushing the overall message of beef and cattle was going to be good for everybody. Through organizations and associations, the cattlemen were all able to work together to offer each other protection, help, and a place to turn to really get their message out there. Though you could argue that beef didn't even need promotion, it still got it, and boy did it work. Beef is probably the #1 meat in the entire world today. It's what's for dinner. And now the section that takes us through how cattle goes from the field to your belly. This was a great way to really see step by step the beef cattle life cycle. It started out here at the seed stock farm. This is where the cattle were bred and born. They then moved over to the cow-calf farms, and this is where the mothers get to truly bond with their children and raise them up to be healthy, happy cows. Once fully grown, some of the cattle will be moved on to the livestock market, and this is where people will buy them for breeding purposes, for eating purposes, really whatever they want to get, they can find them here. At the stocker operation, this is where all the cattle are put together to be ready to move over to the feed yard, and this is where they get nice and big. Finally, the cows are sent to the packing plant. This is where they come to be prepared and ready to send out all over the country at the food service distribution and retail, which is your local grocery stores. Quite a journey for the little guys. So it turns out, besides just beef, there's a lot of things that cattle is a part of. Let's check some of them out. This is, here's some garage items that are made from cows. Boots, these are made out of hide and hair. Tennis racket on the strings there, that is intestines. Fertilizer, well, we all know what that is. Football, you got the hide of cattle. Even tires, cattle fat. Let's move on. This is stuff that you may see in a typical playroom, toys, kids stuff there. Glue, that is bone. Paper, they get some fat in there. That's interesting, I didn't know that. Crayons, fat, such as colorful fat, I suppose. Paints, more colorful fat. How do they get around? And colorful chalk, again, fat. That is not all though. Here on the other side, they continue to show us how everything but the moo is used in lots of items. So we're going to keep going with kitchen items here. Marshmallows, they got the bone in there. Fat goes into the butter. I think that one's a pretty typical one. Dog food, beef, bone, blood, and fat. So I mean, kind of what we eat. Then we have a plate here. Some of these are made out of bone, some of that nice china. And then even gummy bears has cattle bone in it, that gelatin. Very interesting. And our last section, typical bathroom items. Let's see how many of these you have at home. We have makeup products, cattle fat. We have some insulin here. This is from cattle organ. That's really important. That helps save lives, you know. Then we have shampoo and conditioners. This is made out of cattle bones. Medicines made out of organ, bone, and blood. Looking around, it truly seems like cattle is super important and something that affects all of our lives. This is probably my favorite section in the whole museum. This is interactive stuff all about cattle. We start off with learning some other names for cows, such as bull, steer, heifer, things like that. This is the actual insides of a cow, how they have more than one stomach in there, and how their food process goes. And then the cattlemen actually choose what kind of nutrition to give their cattle. They have a lot of different types of foods that they can choose to feed them, and that's going to depend on what purpose they are raising these particular cows for. So, as we all know, beef usually tastes best when it's on a grill. So you can pretend that you are cooking up some steaks, some hamburgers, some delicious beef. Here's a little table you would sit at, and while you're waiting for your beef to cook, there's a puzzle here. Looking at these pieces, I'm pretty sure once you complete it, it's going to be a nice big steak, so that's something fun. And then once your steak is ready, you take it over into your kitchen, which is gorgeously done here. They got your tables all set. Let's see what's in the refrigerator. Open this up. Oh, looks like there is some food in here. Let's... Oh! Alright. It looks like this is pieces of a burger. I guess you put it together yourself. So let's see. We got the beef. This is the most important part. We'll put that there. We'll have... Okay, no sesame seeds, so this is the bottom bun. Then we are gonna do, I guess we'll do the meat next. So there we go, key ingredient. Throw some tomato slices on there. You got your lettuce. Ooh, ketchup, we'll do that one last. All right, some more. Put some pickles, of course. Gotta have the cheese. We got some onions. Then we got the ketchup. And last but not least, the top bun. And you are all ready for a delicious burger. Well, that's all the time we have for today, adventurers. Thanks for tagging along. My name is David, and this has been Abnormal Voyages. I think I'm gonna go have myself a steak now. We'll see you next time.